Hello, folks. I'm Hank Sturgis. This is my niece, Darla Sturgis.
Hello.
And welcome to the Paranormal Roundtable. First, let's get started. Tiki. Okay. We want to thank you for all the letters and all the stories you've been sending in. Thank you for all your advice and all your haunting stories. We really appreciate them. Tonight, I'd kind of like to give my own little story, and it's going to be connected to another video we're going to show later on in the week. So, 32 years ago, we moved up here from Texas. We moved up to Washington State, where we are now. I'm sorry, Cowboys, but you got to go with the best. Moved up here about, I don't know, 4 years into living here. I found about this haunted trail out of the lake around here, so I decided to go exploring. So I headed out to the trail, and pretty long trail, and it's pretty woodsy, and you've been out there. In fact, we used to take you out there. So I was walking along the trail. Well, off the trail is a real tall hill. I bet it's about 500 feet tall. So I got off the main trail and walked through the brush and walked over towards the hill. There's some giant trees in there. It's beautiful. And I noticed a headstone lying out there. And I said,
I have pictures of it still. Headstones I found just last summer we went.
Yeah. So found a headstone. This was probably in 1995, 96. And I started exploring a little more, and I had my metal detector with me. So I was looking around, wasting time, and I found another headstone. And before you know it, I had found about 32 headstones out there on the trail, up against that cliff. And nobody's really seen them because they don't get off the main trail and get up into the trees and stuff. So that kind of freaked me out. What's a bunch of headstones doing out here on a nature trail? So I looked up at the top of that hill, and
I think you can just see the church from the bottom of that. On the trail, I think you just see the church up there.
yeah, there's a church up there, and right next to the church is a cemetery. So I called a man at the local newspaper office up here and told him what's going on. So he said, I'll bring a cameraman down there and I'll meet you at the head of the trail. So they came down, and I walked them to where the headstones were, and they took pictures of every headstone. There was a couple from World War I, some veterans, some 1800s headstones. I mean, these were old headstones. And before we talked to the cemetery, he did research on the names of all the heads that were on all the headstones. And he found 11 families that were still connected to the people that were buried up the hill at the cemetery.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah. So finally we confronted the cemetery, and the newspaper man, I'm not going to mention any names, confronted them with the headstones, and he asked them what's going on with all the headstones down there. Well, they told us there was a bad flood, but there was a bad flood and it washed them headstones over the hill down on the trail. Well, I just said bull butter, you know. And then he got to, huh?
There's no way.
No. And he got talking to him a little more, and then they came up with another story about these were headstones that were falling over, and nobody paid attention to them, and nobody took care of them anymore. And I said, well, isn't that the job of the cemetery, to take care of the headstones and crap? So, to make a long story short, once he printed the article in the newspaper, the cemetery was fined an ungodly amount of money and sued by the family members that didn't know their long-lost relatives' headstones were lying at the bottom of that hill.
So, what are you getting from it, that they just were all crumbled and they threw them over, or do you think they did it intentionally to make room for new headstones?
That's exactly what we thought.
Or were they just crumbling and they didn't want to mess with this, so they just threw them over?
We decided, me and Brett, the newspaper man, decided that they were just pushing the headstones over the cliff to make room for new people. You know, who would know? It's secluded out there, folks. You wouldn't know unless you got off that trail and walked through a bunch of brush. So the city, which owns all that trail down there, for I don't know how long that trail goes, but it's miles. The city had to bring a bunch of men down there with jackhammers, trucks, and jackhammer those headstones up and haul them off. And a bunch of other stuff was down there besides headstones. You know, the ornamental things people put on the headstones and the graves, and their wire, and
like bells to see if they're still alive underground?
No, good God. So whatever, there was a bunch of other stuff that's associated with graves and stuff down there, so they had to haul that off, and we found out it cost them $250,000 of manual labor and doing all that work.
Good.
So, a couple of weeks ago, we found out through the grapevine that somebody was walking that same trail, and guess what they found?
A headstone.
They found more headstones down there.
Because, like I had said, I just went last summer and found headstones.
And you have pictures of those.
Yep. I got those wicked writings all over the place, the rocks.
It's
weird
spooky.
Feeling. It's a weird place.
It's spooky down there, folks.
And that's where we're going next.
That's where we're going next. We're going to take you on the trail with us. We're going to find the headstones. And there's a lot of things that's happened after I found the headstones the first time that's gone on in that area. It's super haunted. It really is. Just tell them one or two little things that you experienced down there on the trail.
So when I was in high school, me and my friends used to go down there. And I was on the trail one time, and my friend was like, "Do you see that over there?" And we looked to the left, and I didn't see anything, and my other friend didn't see anything. But he claimed that there was a man looking straight. So if you're looking at him, you just see the side of his face, like a side profile. But he turned, and he was wearing a gas mask.
Probably some bomb getting ready to go off.
But he had a gas mask on, like a old style gas mask is what he said.
Maybe an old World War I gas mask.
I don't know, but he said he looked at him and he saw the side, and then he just turned slowly and looked right at him. And then he took off and left us there. But it's just so you get a weird feeling. There's rocks with satanic stuff all over it and just weird things. You have the headstones. I think it's just some disgruntled spirits, to be honest, that are...
There's been 2 little girls spotted out there. Sometimes they'll see the girls sitting in the tree limbs, like 2 in the morning. They're probably 6 or 7 years old. People have had these 2 little girls approach them and ask them what they're doing out there on the trail. And this is after midnight. So what are 2 little girls doing out there? I don't think they're alive. But there's a lot more going on down there that we'll get into when we actually go hit the trail. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to find the same reporter that came down there the first time. I don't even know if he's still in the business, but I bet you I can find another reporter that'd like to take the story. And then we hit them again. Go up top, hit that cemetery, and maybe they'll close the damn thing down.
Are we, I mean, that's what I mean. Are we prepared to, or are we gonna do something about it if we see a whole bunch more headstones? Or are these, I mean, we don't know, did they get all the headstones from the 90s when you first mentioned it? Or?
Well, that's what we got to find out. We got to look at the dates. We got to see what's going on. You can tell if something's been freshly thrown over the hill because there'll be drag marks. No, but I made sure they cleaned up all the headstones back in the night, so there shouldn't be one more down there. But that's what we're going to find out. That's going to be our next video. Me and Darla, we're heading out there.
But there's also bears and cougars and things that, you know, aren't spiritual that could really mess us up. So.
Well, we'll worry about that when we get there.
Okay.
So, until the next video, thanks for showing up at Hank and Darla's round table. And if you want to see what's been going on with Hank, you might want to check into Hank Sturgis and the Paranormal Hunters on YouTube. You're going to see a lot of exciting action. It's really crazy. So, until next time, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Be sure to hit the subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hit the subscribe.